And it looks as though Azerbaijan is basically saying, you're part of Azerbaijan now, so either deal with it or leave this territory. It's kind of like a sort of ethnic cleansing light. That's what it's looking like.
Apparently, Russia claiming that Georgia are being pressured by the West into sanctions against them. What's going on? Very daring of Georgia to even think about sanctioning Russia, surely.
Yeah, well, I mean, this isn't the first time Lavrov, who's the foreign secretary, the Russian foreign minister, has praised Georgia for not submitting to Western pressure to take part in sanctions. And this really makes people who are very concerned about what Russia's doing in Ukraine cringe, notably the opposition here and also Georgia's Western partners, because in many ways they think that this government is being seriously pro-Russian in its approach to how it deals with Putin. I can give a really good example of that is that so much money is now coming into Georgia from Russia in the form of Russians bringing in their rubles and their dollars. We've had an influx of Russians here over the past year. We think somewhere between 100 and 200,000 Russians may have relocated to Tbilisi. So they're bringing their money with them. And that's created huge opportunities for Georgia. And trade is up massively. And when we talk about sanctions, the West is Europe's trying to wean itself off Russian oil and gas. Georgia's imports of fuel and petrol and oil have gone up 179% in the last year.
But I presume that the Russians going to Georgia, though I'm sure there are infiltrators, if you will, among them, wouldn't necessarily be particularly pro-Putin. They'd be there escaping the draft or whatever. Is that right or wrong?
Well, that's true, yes. Many of them are anti-Putin and very much against the war. But of course, it's more complex than that. The two countries have been neighbours and are neighbours. Of course, just the geography is there, and the trade has always been there. And it's very tempting for Georgia to be able to take advantage of this economic wealth. And so it's not just about the people who are here, but it's the Russian money too. And I think when we look at how Georgia has behaved towards Russia, it's very, very careful not to antagonize. But this government is also quite cheeky in the way it likes to describe the opposition here as the party of war. In other words, implying that if we go along with the West and we criticize Russia, that's looking to bring us all kinds of trouble. And it is true that Russia could divide Georgia in just a few hours. It could send its tanks over the border and cut this country in half, literally in less than a few hours. So they know that they're really at risk from the potential for Russian aggression.
Treading a very fine line. Let's move on to a humanitarian crisis, which has barely been reported in this country. This blockade of an enclave in Azerbaijan. What's happening there?
So we're talking about the region known as Nagorno-Karabakh. It's a beautiful mountainous area that was fought over between Azerbaijan and Armenia in an awful war in 2020. It lasted just 6 weeks, but thousands of soldiers on each side were killed. Azerbaijan took back huge amounts of territory that was occupied by Armenia. And Nagorno-Karabakh is kind of in the middle of that territory, that area, and is internationally recognized as Azerbaijan, but it is to all extents and purposes an ethnic Armenian enclave. And ethnic Armenians, about 100,000 or more, are trapped, if you like, inside this enclave because the only way in, the only humanitarian road in, passes through Azerbaijan proper. And the Azeri eco-activists have blocked the road from Armenia that was supplying ethnic Armenians inside Karabakh. And it looks a little bit like Azerbaijan is trying to project force over the enclave without actually using military force, because these eco-activists that say that they want to stop illegal mining inside Karabakh are really just a way of putting enormous pressure on the people there. So food and medical supplies are running short. Women can't get mothers, parents can't get formula milk for their babies, or they're running out of nappies. I mean, it's pretty appalling, and it's been very cold too. So really, the people there are feeling under enormous pressure, and it looks as though Azerbaijan is basically saying, "You're part of Azerbaijan now, so either deal with it or leave this territory. It's kind of like a sort of ethnic cleansing light. That's what it's looking like.